Abby Clark here from KUVO's The Morning Set with another episode of Live and Local, this time at the Center for Colorado Women's History. Now, last time I was here, it was sort of a changing of the guard moment happening here. The last exhibition, Rumors of Bloomers, was being taken down. Mannequins were being undressed and moved out. Historic bloomers were being carefully packaged. And the space was being ready for this exhibition, Miss Destiny, which is now on display till March of 2026. The question that's asked is, what would you do to control your own destiny? With me today is Sidney Epstein, the guest services specialist, and Susan Fries, who is the director and deputy of community museums officer. Well, hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Hi, good to see you, Abby.
It's amazing to see everything up. I've been really excited about this since we first talked about it earlier this year. The message of this one is really about resilience and having the courage to make a difference for yourself or for your community. Let's talk about the meaning behind this exhibit, which I feel like the title of it is so fitting, Miss Destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. When we put this exhibit together, we were talking about names and ideas and themes, and that idea of courage, resilience came through, and some of the folks that we work with at History Colorado said, you know what, this sounds like Agent Carter. This sounds like put your hands on your hips, do your thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, superhero. And so from that came the Miss Destiny as a superhero type figure, super action figure. So that is the theme behind this and the inspiration for Miss Destiny.
And it's spread throughout the house, which we'll get to see another small piece of it in this conversation today. And I was learning this idea came from last year's Women's Symposium, which you guys are a big part of.
That's right. We host the Women's History Symposium, and that idea and theme that we talk about at the November symposium is what leads the scholarship for the exhibition in the following year. So that was our theme. This is our exhibit.
Really brought to you by conversations with the community.
Right.
So this really spotlights 7 Colorado women throughout history. Would love to talk about them, shout them out, because they all were change makers in their own right.
Absolutely. We have 7 different women that we have collected, of course, from the symposium and from all of these different community members. In this room that we're in right now, we have Cathay Williams, and just off camera, we have Laura Evans. We also have Dr. Justina Ford, Baby Doe Tabor, which we will talk about a little bit later. We have Rattlesnake Kate and also Chipita. Oh, and Romualda Boggs in the other room as well. Yeah.
So what kind of ties all these women together? I mean, they're all separate stories, but why were they chosen?
They represent different parts of Colorado geography, different life experiences. They coordinate with the themes that we are presenting. Those 3 themes are occupation. Help me, Sidney.
Now you have me on the spot. So we have occupation, marriage or otherwise, and then we also have, why am I forgetting now? Oh shoot, sorry.
Well, we'll get to the other one. That's okay. So occupation, marriage, and these are all kind of how they were put into the spotlight.
That's right.
Okay.
How their stories have feature this particular theme. In this case, for Cathay Williams, her choice of choosing to enlist in the Army as a man and to serve in the Army for the Buffalo Soldiers as a man, as the only female Buffalo soldier. That's a choice, right? Yeah. Like, you don't just fall into that. Like, you choose to take this step, maybe because you don't have other choices, maybe this is the best choice, but how courageous is that?
I mean, going against the grain for sure, especially with what was, I guess, expected or stereotypes for that time period. Okay, so when it comes to these 7 women, their stories, are they all like textbook answers if you grew up in Colorado in school, or are they?
No, you really wouldn't have heard of these women. Having said that, there are some that their stories are more told, as opposed to others. Baby Doe Tabor was in the news. Rattlesnake Kate chose her own story. Like, she put herself in the media for many reasons. Yeah, like she did it. She did it herself and made and crafted her story where others may not have. The others you may not have heard about. In Denver, you may have heard of Justina Ford. She delivered over 7,000 babies in this town. So you could have been. There are many people in this town that are
Totally.
a baby that was delivered by her. Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay. So we're around artwork. That's kind of a big thing, especially talking with Margot Miller, who's another guest services specialist. That outreach to community for artwork is something that you guys utilize to really help tell the story. So there's community artwork, and then there's actually something really unique with this exhibition. When it comes to each of our women that are represented, there's this accompanying superhero depiction of each woman with a pose that's really unique to their legacy or their power. And fun fact, it was actually pitched by an artist that is part of your organization. It must have been really exciting to see that pitched and think about the possibilities. Would love to hear more about that work and this artist.
Yeah, it was absolutely fabulous. So Sidney Macias, our artist that you've been mentioning, she did fabulous work. And when we're kind of thinking about what Susan mentioned as that superhero type of figure, we started thinking about different types of comic books and that style of art. And Sidney took that in such stride. So we actually do have little figures, kind of like their own comic book style of figures for each of the women across the exhibit. And you can track them on all of the panels, so you can really see from the beginning to the end where they're kind of situated, not just in the museum, but just tracking them through their individual stories. So we're talking about Cathay, for example, her being active during the Civil War. She would have been doing a lot of marching, and that was really a huge part of her story. So in her figure, there's these really huge little bursts of light around her feet, for example. So just a lot of action.
Oh, that is such a unique component to blend, especially comic book with, because that's so historically it's more like a creative, fictional kind of thing, but bringing that nonfiction energy. Was it a conversation throughout the organization to talk, to brainstorm and come up with these, how we're gonna depict them in their positions?
No, actually, Sidney took our suggestions and historic photographs or objects that we have in the collection, and from that began to draw on her own her vision for the exhibit. From our instruction that it be comic book action figure-esque.
That's so cool. So we'll definitely see some of those as we're walking through. Now, the other art element is community artwork, at least from outside the organization. We're standing next to a piece that really brought me into the Center for Colorado Women's History, 12 Tablecloths by Chloe Duplessis, and I recognize her work here. So can we talk about that outreach and some of the pieces that you've been able to put through with that?
Yeah, so because women's stories aren't well documented, may not be documented at all. We may not have collection items that represent them, but we have to find a way to present them to the public, to museum goers, so that they feel some connection to the life that was lived. So sometimes it's best to do that with art. And in this case, with Cathay Williams' dress by Chloe, that is how we depict Cathay Williams.
And it really opens the door, like you said, for people to be connected. I know I'm a history nerd, so seeing some of these items, it really brings you into the storyline, but I feel like the possibilities are blasted open when you're bringing artwork into it. This is another piece, correct? That's part of this?
Yeah, the original piece, this is a reproduction. The original piece is from the exhibit in Fort Garland, Buffalo Soldiers Revision. And yeah, we have her here for this exhibit.
This exhibit runs all the way to next March, which is really cool because there's many opportunities to see it. And it's only been up at this point, recording now, it's been up for about a week. So can we talk about the impact? I guess like it being a part of it, bringing it to life, and then seeing it, you know, what do you think it's gonna be for Coloradans as they come through and hear these stories?
Yeah, well, they're excited because anytime we can bring objects out of the History Colorado collection that haven't been on display is really important and exciting. And that's the great way that we do our work.
Yeah.
Most items that are women's items are never on display in exhibits, and so we treasure that here at the Center for Colorado Women's History. So you'll see things, and people see things that they've never seen before, are super surprised about, and are also connected to our other community museums where you could find out more about these folks. So that's super fun. We've seen definite age, how do I say, youngering, younger, yeah, just like mixed, multiple generations coming to view the exhibit and being engaged in many different ways, but also in conversation.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we want as museum directors. Like, we want you to come to the exhibit and then be talking about it as you're here.
Exactly.
This is what this is. What do you think of it? Yeah. So
speaking of talking about, I've heard about this dress, so we should go to the other room, which I know is a really beloved artifact. So let's head over and remind me again of the women that the dress is of.
Elizabeth or Baby Doe Tabor.
All right, let's check it out. So as we mentioned before, there are 3 different realms. So we were just in the occupation room. What are the other 2? Because we're in a different room now.
Yes, so this would be marriage. So there's going to be marriage, presentation, and occupation. And again, those overlap throughout all these women, of course. Yeah. But kind of texturing those different stories throughout these rooms was really the vision for how the exhibit was going to lay out across the first floor.
It's really exciting to kind of move through the house and see the different panels change. And now we're in front of Elizabeth's dress, yes, which is a beloved item. Talk to me a little bit about her, which she might be one of the more well-known stories.
Absolutely, yes. So Elizabeth Tabor, or as many people may know her better as Baby Doe Tabor, is actually one of her nicknames that was given to her by miners. She was one of the first women to be known to mine in Central City back in the early 1800s. So we don't actually know if she liked this nickname or not, which is interesting. It's one of those layered things of what is being recorded in a woman's history or not. Mm-hmm. But she was married into one of the richest silver mining marriages in Colorado at the time, really the entire United States at the time. And that is one of her choices. So her already being in the mining industry previously to meeting Horace Tabor, who did own all of these silver mines, there was a lot of talk around, especially the upper aristocratic Victorian women, around her marriage to Horace because she was a lot younger than him. So it kind of was looked down upon in that realm. But she really did, and there are a lot of different research papers and documents that show that they were most definitely in love, and this is her wedding dress.
It's stunning.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
How beautiful that you get to bring out some of these really cared for items through being a part of History Colorado, which you're all like this, you're all connected, like this historic ecosystem around the state. So people who are in Denver might know this branch, but you have branches all over, right?
Right, we have community museums, 7 of them across the state, and they tell many different stories about their communities, about the borderlands of Colorado. So super exciting.
That is really exciting. And so this is just a couple of the women featured of the 7 women. There's another room completely that we haven't gone into, so you can check it out when you come through Center for Colorado Women's History. So how are people experiencing this? When they buy their ticket, is it completely like self-guided? Are there other things that you're gonna be doing around the exhibition?
Yeah, so they can see the full exhibit on the first floor. It's only on the first floor, and they can see it self-guided at any time that we're open. So from 10 to 4 generally, 7 days a week. And then there's also a women's history tour where you see the whole house. The tour is not specifically the exhibit, but there are some mentions of some of the items. But really, you can experience the exhibit itself on your own through the interpretation. And then this summer we'll have some programming. We are open late on Tuesday evenings, and those Tuesday evenings will have programming that is specifically connected to the exhibit somehow. So some of the curators that put together some of these items, that chose some of them, the curator of textiles will talk more about the dress, which has a big history in Colorado, but also for fashion and design and all these many different layers of why this is important, and then many of the other items.
That's very exciting. A whole year's worth of people coming in and experiencing this. And it's laid out so beautifully with all of the different panels, with that original artwork done by Sidney, an artist in your organization. I'm excited for this to be out there and doing the work that you're doing, sharing these untold stories and painting, an accurate picture of these women. Like, it's such great and important work, especially here in Colorado, where I feel like the history's, it was just so pivotal being out west versus where I'm from out east. I feel like there was a lot of experimentation happening and things like that. Yeah, okay. Well, this exhibition, Miss Destiny, will be on display until March of 26 for viewing. I really appreciate it, Susan and Sidney, taking some time to bring me into it and really share a little bit about these women with me.